Welcome back to the final day of HGC Korea here for Season 1. My name is Wolf. With me is G-Clef. And tonight, history will be made. It'll be the first time in a Korean league the two MVP teams, Miracle and Black, will face off in a playoffs. And this is going to be a really exciting match, no doubt.
That's right. The winner stays home in Korea and the other way. The loser stays home in Korea. The winner advances to mid-season brawl along with L5, and they will be representing Korea in Europe in just about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yeah, very soon. So tonight's match is everything. We've had 10 long weeks of HGC Korea regular season. This is our final week. It's playoffs time. MVP Miracle has had an incredible run. Starting off in 6th place going to the playoffs, they were the weakest team in terms of regular standings before playoffs. But rumor has it, everyone's saying this team has practiced harder than any other team before the playoffs, so that week between the last week of regular season and then, of course, going into the playoffs. And they've been training with their sister team, MVP Black, who they now have to face as they have been the second-place team all season long. They're the final boss for MVP Miracle. Can they defeat MVP Black here and join L5? It would be the first time they played in an HGC league overseas. Of course, they only played in the Gold Club World Championship. They were the 3rd seed through Wild Card back in China. This is their first time to represent Korea as a major player in the top 2.
I would be still, my favorite has to go for MVP Black, but I will be also surprised, but also will believe if Miracle has what it takes. They've been through Friday and Saturday, three best of 5 series, 1, 2, 3, and they had 3 wins from Tempest, GG, and Mighty yesterday. I think they have what it takes to go to the mid-season brawl.
Yeah, I think that there's an absolutely high chance they can make it. I don't think this is going to be a smash. If it is, it probably is going to be MVP Black taking it right with a 3-0, but I just don't think that's going to be the case because we've been shocked and awed by MVP Miracle's play throughout the rest of this playoff. So MVP Black, the big favorite still. But let's talk about history of HGC Korea. MVP Black has been at every major OGN finals. They've been in every finals of every tournament they played in except for BlizzCon. That's the only tournament that they've ever played, and they didn't make a grand finals. In this case, they didn't win in 1st place, but they got 2nd. Now, as we go into this playoff final, they were only victors of spring last year. They were defeated by Tempest in summer, and then in fall, they were defeated by L5. So they've always been 2nd place, and even if they win this, they'll be 2nd. But this feels like an OGN finals, right? It feels like this super hyper-important match that determines everything for these two teams.
It's basically the finals. This is the last match of Korea right here. As you can see, this is the playoff. We started from Friday, 2 best of 5s, round 1 and 2. MVP Miracle took both wins with 3-1 against GG and Tempest. And just yesterday it was against Mighty and also a 3-1. And here's the matchup for today. Both MB teams, same logos, of course, and everyone's excited, I'm sure. Everyone watching right now was excited, and get hyped because we're going to go right in very soon.
That's exactly right. This is going to be, once again, I want to mention this and bring this up, the first time these two will ever play against each other in playoffs. Last year, they wanted to face each other in the grand finals of Super League for Season 3. It didn't happen. It was Black that advanced, and Miracle failed. So L5 defeated Miracle, then defeated Black in that grand final. So they didn't have that team kill. We didn't have 2 MVP teams at BlizzCon. This time, L5 outshined everybody. But Miracle had perhaps their weakest performance they've ever had in their team's very short history in this HGC season. But they've brought it back all the way now to the grand finals of playoffs. And perhaps they could take that momentum into this final best of 5. Let's take a look at the video, though, of MVP Black.
안녕하세요. 저는 MVP 블랙에서 메인 딜러 겸 올라운더를 맡고 있는 리셋이라고 합니다.
저는 MVP 블랙 교차 정원호입니다.
1위 욕심이 있었는데 2위로 마감해가지고 많이 아쉬웠어요.
너무 가슴이 아팠어요. 그게 리그제라서 그냥 순위만 결정되는 거지 우승하고 말고 이런 차이는 솔직히 없잖아요. 근데 결승전에서 진 것처럼 가슴이 좀 아팠어요.
경기가 다 끝나고 난 다음에는 이제 다 피드백하고 좀 풀렸어요. 그래도 분위기가 많이 좋아졌어요, 지금은.
정말 기가 막힐 정도로 잘합니다.
보는 팀원이 다 잘하다 보니까 딱히 누구를 뽑기 힘든 것 같아요.
리셋이랑요, 저요. 캐릭터 가져오는 자체가 유동적이고 할 수 있는 그런 폭이 넓어가지고 활약할 여지가 많을 것 같아요.
이게 바로 전승의 제라툴.
형제팀 미라클은 좀 피하고 싶어요. 저희랑 연습을 많이 하다 보니까 저희에 대해서 제일 잘 알고 있는 팀이다 보니까 좀 많이 힘들 것 같아요. 뭔가 커다랗게 준비한다기보다는 원래 하던 대로 해서 저희가 좀 잘하는 정석적인 그런 픽을 해서 확실하게 준비를 해야 될 것 같아요.
저희가 졌던 경기들을 다 보면은 상대가 변칙적인 수를 꺼내거나 제가 뱀픽이 많이 꼬였을 때 졌는데 제가 그 점을 잘 보완해가지고 준비하도록 노력할게요.
이번에 저희가 F5한테 역수입당했는데 이게 좀 많이 분해가지고 미드 시즌 꼭 가가지고 저희가 복수하고 F5한테 저희가 다시 트로피 들은 모습을 보여주고 싶어요. 미드 시즌은 저희가 꼭 갈 거니까 어떤 팀이 올라오든지 저희가 어차피 이길 거라서 다음 시즌 준비하시면 될 것 같아요.
어느 팀이 올라오던 간에 제라툴은 꼭 배나고 가시길.
There you have it. MVP Black, Eastern Class champions, second place in HGC Korea. They were seeded into this playoff finals. Reset has really come into his own, moving away from the melee role, now playing main range. His Li Ming is terrifying, drawing several respect bans out of the other teams going into this tournament. And it will be Meriday's final match played here in Korea. And if he doesn't win this best of 5, it may be his final match of his career, as he's announced his retirement already after the mid-season brawl. If he doesn't go there, this whole season feels for naught.
That's right. That was his goal from the beginning, why he was staying in MVP Black. He wanted to go back to school. Looks like he will go back to school right after. But he wants to go to Europe before. He doesn't want to stop here and retire at this moment and give up his spot to MVP Miracle. Of course, the threat of Gyocha, as we mentioned, he has 13-0 on his Zero Tool. You gotta ban Zero Tool. There is no way of letting him have that Zero Tool, man.
Reset as well, you know, playing a few off picks in their last matchup, the Arthas and the Lucio, but you know, this guy is terrifying on the Li Ming, so that's something that you really need to be aware of. His Vala as well, even though the last few times we saw him play at HT was maybe some troll picks you could argue, but you have put this guy on the real heroes that he plays, the Li Ming, the Vala, the Nazebo, oftentimes even. He will tear you apart, and you will regret it. But we'll see if they can get the hero picks they want going into this series. No doubt both of these teams have hidden a lot of what they want to show in this best of 5. Here's MVP Miracle. You mentioned it before. Every single win was a 3-1. They were not impervious in their run-up, but they were dominant. And oftentimes the losses that they had were with bad drafts, poor coordination in drafts. And against MVP Black, which is known to be the best drafting team in Korea, this is not going to be an easy best of 5 in terms of setting up those compositions.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy for sure, as we have our camera on to Dami. Maybe it's time to bring out that Sonya, Dami. I think it's time, and I think they've been hiding Sonya on purpose and bringing out their Stitches whenever they take Malfurion in their beginning of the draft.
There's definitely been the pairing of the Stitches and the Malfurion. That was the story of day 1 of playoffs, and both best of 5s are Miracle, but very not so much seen yesterday, used actually by Mighty against them, but they've definitely changed their drafting style quite a bit. That the fear of the Stitches made them draft a lot stronger against Mighty. We'll see if Black has either the response to deal with that Stitches Malfurion draft, or if they're just going to let him, they're just going to take it away rather in the draft. Honkono, the man himself on the Stitches, and has been playing some hyper-aggressive murder. It feels like finally Dami and Honkono have come into this Miracle team that's been mostly conservative, right? The 3-member Sniper, Crazy Wing, Darvish, these guys were known for their defensive play, their somewhat timid plays, and to have 2 of the most aggressive players on their roles, Honkono the tank, Dami the melee flex, be so aggressive, didn't sync with the team at first, but now it feels like everything's all come together.
That's right, when they also need a global, Honkono can go on that Muradin, and Dami can also grab that Dehaka for that global control of the map and the macro. Dami has put himself into the role to perfect his team, and also Sniper comes along as a flex. He basically, whatever is left, he take it, and the draft is completed like that.
You know, when you compare Tist and Honkono, though, you know, just in terms of direct tanks, I feel like Tist definitely takes the cake. He definitely takes the lead. He's a much stronger take overall. We could talk about Honkono's improvement throughout the season, but Tist just started on day one nearly perfect, and anything that he didn't have or that he was missing on day one, by week 10, he was fully advanced and upgraded. Tist is a terrifying warrior right now. Some say he's even better than Noblesse at this moment in time. So we'll see if Honkono can make it work with standard draft picks. Remember, in terms of HGC record, lifetime against each other in Korea this year, they're 3-1 in their first part. That was actually the really close series. Even though it was a 3-1 score, the series was very close. The second series, though, the more recent one, was very much one-sided in favor of MVP Black.
That was indeed correctly. It was very one-sided, and Miracle seems to be having trouble. And they also have the previous former TNL members. And TNL members, every single time when they just faced against that big name, the giant wall of MVP Black, they seem to crumble because if they're not versing Black, anyone else like L5 or Tempest Storm Tempest before, they've been doing fine, but whenever they face Black, they've been playing some weird picks, weird drafts, and something just does not feel well for them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's compare the records, by the way. Well, I already talked about it before, but I think the elephant in the room is Tist at 11-2 on the Muradin to Honkono's 9-12. Kyocha's vastly superior Zeratul at 13-0 to Dami's 7-4. Resets Li Ming, we've talked about this a million times. Sake split push Falstad. These are just the stories we've told all season long, every time Black plays. We even reference Black's playstyle on certain maps because they're so dominant with these specific heroes. Meridy's 16-2, and all the heroes on the other side of Miracle, it's almost like you could draw a line of symmetry between them with the exception of Sniper and Reset, and it just feels like Black is just better at all these heroes. They have the better win rates. And Miracle's just going to have to outdraft them or outplay them tonight, because even though they have the better records overall in HGC Korea's first phase, if Miracle wins today, all they need is one best of 5 to knock Black out and erase these records and write a new history as they travel to Sweden.
Screenshot that page, I think. Just cross out Zeratul in between the two teams. And then, of course, either of the teams will just split picks, and then something will be in that Zeratul spot. I'm pretty sure Genji will make some differences in today's series. Let's move on to the Battleground. The first Battleground is going to be Dragonshire picked by MVP Miracle. So it looks like MVP Black's going to have the first ban.
That's right. So Black will have first ban, and we'll see if it'll be the only time they have it. If they take this series 3-0 as they did in the second, it's going to be their choice for Battlegrounds repeatedly. So Dragonshire going to be the map where we have to put all priority on Nazebo. StarCraft Battlegrounds are removed here. So this is going to be as MVP as it gets. Nothing unusual, very standard. We'll very likely see BOE Cursed and Infernal Shrines moving forward. Black may pick into the Sky Temple if they win this first map, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Remember, this map is the map that's about global rotations and it's about late game scaling. It's a map that historically in HGC Korea goes the longest games by far, so that Nazebo will be highly prioritized, perhaps even in that second rotation for MVP Miracle.
That's right, we're right into draft number 1 in Dragonshire. Get hyped, guys, it's on. Black banning a Nubarak! They're gonna open everything, and Miracle has been playing a Nubarak sometime to isolate with Cocoon during the team fight. So they're just gonna open it and see how Miracle responds to this ban. Wow.
It's a very bold move by
This
Black.
is a tough choice by Miracle now.
This is a ban that I like to call the throwaway ban. It's a strong ban against Honkono and Drami. Both play actually the hero quite well, but it's not a hero that's prioritized first. The reason why they ban this is because, like you said, they want to leave everything open so that their first pick, they get exactly what they want, or just an S-tier hero. So even if you ban the Zeratul here, they are going to get, say, the Falstad if they want that, or the Genji if they are going to be running that today. They have the run-of-the-mill of the S-tier heroes that will be in that first pick slot, and they don't remove one themselves because they just want to be able to get that top tier, S-tier hero. And if I'm Miracle, I think the safe ban here is still the Zeratul, and I would definitely lock it in.
Yeah, you do not want... What?
Malfurion.
Zeratul is open. Let's go, Kyocha. 13-0, but instead it's Genji time.
So when you ban the Malfurion instead of the Genji here, you leave Genji with the natural counter to Genji banned away from Miracle, so now Miracle can't bring Malfurion into the draft. Will they just lock in the Zeratul, however, because it is available? That's their idea with this. They would have obviously known there was a high chance Genji would be picked, even with the Malfurion ban. So, question is, do they grab the Zeratul and say a Falstad? I think that would be really good to have the backline pressure, then also have that global rotation. But Genji, right now, with a pretty abysmal win rate. We'll see what Black can actually do with this here. This gets me a little bit hyped because I've been really critical of teams picking Genji so far. It's going to be Dahaka with the Nazebo, so they want to have, they're not going to have Dami on the Zeratul. They're just going to have that global. Dahaka seems to be the best global for Miracle right now, and they have that late game scaling. Oh, Zeratul and Genji together.
I think that's also because Miracle went smart, and with Dehaka, as Kyocha was the one actually playing on Dehaka, the global is already gone, and so they will pick up Falstad, and maybe we're going to see some crazy Genji Zeratul diving in from the backline action here.
Well, this has to be a Tyrael ban, right? I mean, think about the potential Tyrael here with Genji and Zeratul, and you have the Falstad. I feel like that's the best tank option. Another good tank ban, I think, would be the Arthas ban. Well, Crazy Moving seems to be dictating this draft at this moment in time. Calculations being made. It's a really weird draft for Black. We haven't really seen the overlap of Zeratul and Genji together, even though it feels like Genji's kind of a melee hero. He's technically ranged. He's kind of a hybrid in that way, kind of like Greymane. But yeah, to have them both here, it just feels like Tyrael would be an amazing hero to empower them with the Sanctification, with the extra shielding, even the Smite speed boost. And that's why the ban is going to come down. It feels obvious, but there were definitely other considerations, like the Arthas, who would also empower them in a different way by giving them the added slow and the root potential.
There's a hover on to leaving, and Taika seems to be a little bit more of a popular pick for Miracle especially, but Black cannot pick a Liming into their team comp anyhow, so it's up to them. I think Tychus is already also okay, since they will only have one tank in the front line, as they are also missing a support tank. Just getting that damage onto your solo tank will be a lot of pressure, so there's a Tychus ban.
Tychus is the highest picked hero in HGC Korea. 62 picks. One above Falstad. And will be banned here. Miracle now. So tense they knocked the music out. There we go. I was getting this some way too much suspense. With Tychus removed, Liming's a good choice. Vol is something they will still actually consider. They could run the Vol Ariel with the Nazebo and have that really strong 4-man lane. It's going to be difficult for Black to actually get massively ahead against that because they want that late game scaling. The risk of running the Valas, even with Ariel's protection, there's so much backline dive here with the Genji and the Zeratul. Falstad can come in at a good angle, get the Gust for isolation. And Falstad's somewhat of a soft counter to Aegis anyways. You Aegis the Vala early, the Gust comes down, suddenly the Vala pops out of the crystal all alone.
It is Muradin again coming out from Hong Kong though, as I was expecting a little bit more of a variant actually coming out, so that the taunt will have the threat against Genji and Zeratul coming out from the side, but the hero pool, because Dami is already, who's been known to playing variant on Miracle, is already on Dehaka, so Hong Kong had to go for something else, which is Muradin, and there's a Sergeant Hammer pick after Tychus banned out.
The Sergeant Hammer pick still similarly going to be very strong down in the 4-man. Can really push those towers quite heavily with Nazebo and Hammer, the double specialist DPS comp, and really push the lanes hard. If you get a pick in the early game, for any reason, Black is going to be losing turrets and a lot of fort health because of how much pushing power this has and how much siege power this has. So for Black, the question is always going to be, will it be, oh, they're going to go with the stitches themselves with no follow-up roots. They have the follow-up slow. I was thinking they might run the Uther here because they really do like the pairing of Uther with Zeratul, and then when you have Genji on the table, you can really factor that in as well, but going to be the Rhaegar.
No CC follow-up, but I feel like this is a kidnap meta. The Gorge and the Void Prison, and you just take down one target, and when Miracle tries to have a team fight, Void Prison will always come down, and that Gorge will just kidnap one and blow that target.
Yeah.
Let's see if that comes out in game number 1.
Look, I mean, I would never condone kidnapping, but this is one case where I have to say I think you're absolutely on the right mindset. And for Miracle here, what's going to be the best counter support against this Stitch's potential grab in? They definitely want to have cleanse, I'd say.
Karasim will have cleanse at 16, but by that time, I'm afraid they're gonna be very behind in the XP.
I think they're going to go for the Karasim just because he's top tier. He has the extra mobility. Not going to have cleanse for a while, but can also dive in, finish off targets, can help chase down the Zeratul and the Genji. And this will likely be Palm Karasim. You have to really feel with the Stitches. Maybe he gets caught a few times with the Storm Bolt or the Zombie Wall and gets hit by that 7-sided, but the protection to keep Sergeant Hammer and his Evo alive to make it to that late game is probably going to be the option here. We are going into game number 1, the first time MVP Black and MVP Miracle have faced each other in a playoff match here in Heroes of the Storm in Korea. Let's go into game number 1 for our finals of the playoffs on Dragonshire. In blue, it's MVP Black, Sake on Falstad, Reset on Genji, Tist on Stitches, Kyocha on Zeratul, and Meride on Rhaegar.
And in red, MVP Miracle. On Kono on Muradin, Dami on Tehaka, Sniper on Sergeant Hammer, Crazy Moving on Nazibo, and Darvish on Karazim.
Gonna be third wind coming out here for Honkono. Very unusual talent for him. He normally does stick with the Perfect Storm. This is actually more Tist's way of playing the hero. So maybe a subtle call out here. So third wind will give you a lot more healing, so you can dive deeper when you do go for the ganks.
And also only at times where he's the only frontline tank for the team, but there's also Dami available now.
Okay, gets out of that one. It's a close call. So Wolf Run starts to further explain the Rhaegar pick so that they can rotate quicker. And it is going to be the upgrade to Cyber Agility for Genji at level 1, so whenever he jumps over a wall, he'll get bonus movement speed, so it can be a nice flanker. Tist is getting very low here, does get that Rhaegar heal. They're going to actually try to juke back here. Kyocha with the peeling. Oh, nice hook though, and this is the weakness of Nazeebo. Remember, no escapes. Stitches seems to be kind of a soft counter to him right now.
He just steps over because he wants to get that stack at one. Widowmaker seems to be the one. But you overextend just by a little bit. Oh.
Speaking of, he does have deflect.
Dami's tongue grab has been super, super good since yesterday.
Yeah, I would have to agree. You know, it's kind of funny that a player that's so known, even going back to DreamHack last year for his melee dive play, is now perhaps most famous for his hooks. Speaking of hooks, Tist gonna grab, Crazy Moving, there's the dash in, the Swift Strike gonna get the extra damage. He gets the reset, gets out. Onkono will dwarf toss away, he's got third wind, but they're gonna try to dive on to reset here. Another good deflect. Remember, Reset is the perfect player to play Genji because even though he's the ranged player and this is kind of a ranged assassin, Reset for such a long time, the majority of his career, was a dive-heavy melee flex. Gonna grab with this the Dragon Knight at 2 minutes. Not gonna be the most impactful one, but still small edges in those fights, better trades, and they get the channel.
Also, no ammo at all this first wall. So Reset's gonna do a little bit more damage as they got all the ammos out from the beginning push and some pickoff onto Nazeebo with Stitch's hook. Already climbing their walls here, and slam build coming out from Stitches. Again, it's to help with the wave clear, but hold on to that thought. Gocha will take some damage. There's a healing coming out from Meride. No steal, of course.
Yeah, it looks like it was actually still deactivated there. Just happened to be fighting that location rather than...
Seems like they were fighting for camp when the Dragon Knight was up, so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can if you started early, but it looks like they just happened to be in that location. So Dragon Knight expires here. They get about a 75% lead in EXP from this. Get a whole wall. This is just a small, nice edge here for Black now. They want to continue to get massively ahead, though. We cannot overstate, and I feel like it's like the 4th or 5th time we've talked about this on this map in playoffs. Just so important. Nazebo's late game sailing, you need to get a keep early, pre-20, to win the game. If teams fail to do that, it's so difficult to come back against that heavy damage that's going to come out with a Vile Infection.
That's right, especially when you have Falstad on the other side by 20, when your team is actually trying to hit 20. Falstad will have that epic mountain, and on this map, Falstad has so much map control that they can get the Dragon Knight whenever they want to, and gust in whenever. So you gotta really respect and try to keep your keep until the late game.
Coach doing some heavy harass here on the Honkono.
He wants to keep his perfect win rate. Songs carries him. Darvish seems to be not even needing the dash to run away.
Okay, here's the dash coming in here for reset, trying to use that deflection damage from the turrets to get some extra damage done. He also went Shuriken Mastery, so he's just trying to harass to get those stacks up as well. So we'll be hyper aggressive in terms of going in, dropping out damage, even if he doesn't get the kill. There's a hook on the Sniper. Perhaps the only time they wished it weren't him. Kyo's just gonna come in and reset, dives over the tower. Only one shot left on the ammo there. Anyways, he had the deflect, gets the reset, doesn't even need it.
That's teamwork. That's teamwork. Kyo just saying, okay, I'm gonna press that one for Whirlpool. Then Genji just dives right in along, and Sergeant Hammer seemed like he didn't know what's coming up. What was coming up to her face there.
Yeah, good hook there. I think they were trying to grab Darvish, but with that kind of coordination, I guess it just didn't matter. Normally you want to get the hammer, but with Darvish being solo, they were trying to get him take that siege tank out anyways. And now they're up 3-0, an entire level lead. They're pushing towards 10 first. They want to get the second Dragon Knight. And it may be the Heroics that actually gets it for them. Honkono very deep here, actually. This is a mistake, I feel, this rotation.
Darvish comes for the heal. Just not enough. I feel like Kyocha and Reset could have...
Oh, but they're waiting for Test to come in. Will they actually commit to this? They don't need to. They're just going to push down from the fort. Even though they almost killed Honkono, they didn't get him. That pressure alone and this rotation will get them the fort, which will get them 10. Needs one more hit, though. Okay.
Blink, and Reset coming in for harass. And Falstad has been winning top, got the top shrine also for just a moment while that teamfight was happening. So they also have the Dragon Knight controlled. If Sake is allowed to squat here for a little bit more, I think they can get it one more time. They want to have it.
Oh, he's going to squat. Here we go. Kyocha for the channel. Honkono not in position. Dami not either. They get it. So 2 for 2. Now it's 6 minutes. 4 minutes later, this Dragon Knight much better skilled. Miracle just didn't want to contest because they didn't have 10. $1 million question is answered. It is going to be Dragon Blade, not the X-Strike we thought perhaps with Gorge, which is just logged in. We thought with Gorge it might be the X-Strike coming in to finish off the target, but he just wants to be able to carry the fights more directly here. Tisk gets stuck at that zombie donut, going to take a lot of damage.
Oh yes, the Kid Knight meta is real. Let's see what Kyocha has been planning with that Void Prison. It's all because this is all happening. I feel like because that Falstad has been pushing and so consistent, Sake on that Falstad, it's not really the easiest thing to have the solo lane against Dehaka. Sometimes you get grabbed by the tongue. You also get killed from Dehaka, just from one grab. Sake, of course, it's Sake on the Falstad. You gotta trust him and
yeah, I mean,
your hero.
He's actually been. We talked about Magi a lot earlier on. I think Magi's definitely a close second, but in terms of split push Falstads this tournament, I think it's definitely Sake who's number one. Who's been doing this only really in the second part of Phase 1. Didn't really play it as often back in the Ragnaros variant meta in the early part of the season, but after the split, after the Eastern Clash, we've really seen Sake really love this Falstad split pushing. He's really committed to it, even on smaller maps. Looking for the cheeky hook.
Just to delay this by a little bit.
So, yeah, it's definitely making a huge impact here. And Dami against other Falstads, including Magi, just had a lot easier of a time there. Got some solo kills even, but not today. Not yet.
And also they've been pressuring so hard that I believe Crazy Moving, with the first kills that he died off, and I believe he's also pretty low on his stacks because he died a couple of times and he was just so pressured from all Genji and Zero Two coming in with Stitch's hook. It's gonna be a real tough job for him to get all the 175 stacks.
Well, he did get the Widowmakers at least very early, around 6:30, so that's quite impressive, and we'll have that extra damage. But still, the game is quickly snowballing away from MVP Miracle before that scaling can kick in. Dami is playing with fire with this position. Had they checked for him, he is a dead Dahaka. Kyocha's actually looking for the rotation. They don't see him. Oh, Honkono with a good eye, though. He will see him. Zombie wall planted here. Honkono actually may be in trouble if he actually tries to defend this fort. They just cannot defend it with the Bruiser camp here. Good timing by Black with the take. And this is actually potentially going to be another Dragon Knight. Miracle's not in position. They had to deal with all this pressure.
That was perfectly timed with the camp coming too. Their controlling of this map is just outrageous, almost near perfection. Miracle is just... I know they want to stall time so that they can get 20 for the Nazebo scaling, but hold on to that dog. Oh my goodness.
Dragon Blade's up. Just going to try to zone everybody out with that Dragon Blade so they can get the pick on Adami here. Adami gets the grab. Stays alive here a little bit longer with the burrow. Will the hook connect? He's actually diving further in. Reset. Kyocha kills him with the Dragon Knight's Fire Breath. And that is going to be all she wrote for our Zerg friend, as now this is going to be a keep wall under attack. Remember, the whole idea, the whole concept with this draft for Black is to get ahead early and to get an early keep. And they're already going to start demolishing one of the walls. Tist is using that extra slam damage, like you said, to kind of push this through, having the better wave clear.
And this entire time, and all the time, Sake has been pushing top lane. And it's like they would have pressured this wall already 3 levels apart. So talent down. That was for a slight second. There was 2 talent down actually.
Yeah, just for a brief moment, they want this keep super bad, but they can't get it right now. You see Dami's back to life here. Void Prison's coming up. 7-side actually instead of the Palm. Remember, the Palm usually be. We'll hold that thought. We usually the kill come up before the Ancestral goes down. I was gonna say the Palm was the idea to save Sergeant Hammer against hooks and things of that nature, but they want to get the isolation. This time they do against Stitches. Honkono's going to pop the Avatar. They want to get the kill on the reset. Does have to deflect, but no dash. And that's going to be a double for MVP Miracle.
That's a very great pickup. Ancestral not connecting was totally big on Stitches. Also 7-sided, I guess they want to really tank burst down that Stitches holding in the front line, and so they can chase all the targets and behind. Well placed, played by Darvish there. And Miracle onto the chase now. They got some EXP caught up, but still a very long way to go.
This was somewhat overzealous by MVP Black too. They really wanted that keep. They stayed for so long. They gave Miracle the opportunity to hit this flank, and it was really well executed. Miracle's going to take all available camps, including the neutral bruisers now, and just back off, defend. They kept the keep alive. That keeps their hopes alive, because that's how they're going to be able to make it to 20, is to maintain keeps. Keeps are how Black will snowball the game and get that late game Dragon Knight, you know, mid to late game. Sniper is in trouble. This is where Palm would be real helpful, but he doesn't have it here. It's 7-sided instead, and that doesn't help him survive. He does go down. Big totem coming up for Merryday. He has the slow at 16. Coach is under fire here, but he's going to have Blink very soon.
And the target is crazy moving. Can he survive after the ice wall? No, he does not.
There's another kill there. Dragon Blade finishing him off. Dami is going to burrow, but he will die right afterwards. And this will for sure be the keep for MVP Black. Charging in now. There's nothing to stop them. Long death timers here. They may try to core. Honkono's dropping the B steps here. They want that core. Honkono's going to drop the Avatar, gets the stun here, but only onto Tis. There's just too much damage coming out on the side of MVP Black. They've got the split. Void Prison to deny the damage coming out. Ancestral will connect. And MVP Black will take the first game in 12 minutes, 8-2 kills. Pretty dominant performance, but their draft was designed for a game just like this one.
And that's exactly how Black uses Zeratul and Genji together. Just a scary team. After watching that game, I think Miracle is already lost in what to do. They have to ban Zeratul and Genji. But there's no way. There's no way of banning both at the same time in the beginning of the draft.
I feel like you just have to ban one of them at this point instead of giving it up. The Malfurion ban meant that they didn't have Malfurion to counter the Genji pick. Imagine every time Genji tried to do Swift Strike across the wall to get those picks with Zeratul, either the Zeratul or the Genji just gets rooted, and then, okay, it's a different story. But the amount of times we saw that happen, Darvish couldn't do anything on the Cars team against that. They let them have both, which didn't seem terrifying at first, but when you saw the composition kind of work out with the dives over the wall, the Vorpals, the Swift Strikes, the really good hook accuracy, And suddenly it was like, well, this comp is just going to snowball the game. You have the split push fall stat to make sure that you actually stay ahead in EXP. You're constantly ahead with that talent tier advantage. And Miracle just had no hopes when they started getting picked over and over again. They lost 10, and they lost 2 Dragon Knights where they just couldn't even get close enough to contest.
Yep, Miracle really wanted to have that late game scaling with Nazebo, and they should have been the one with the siege power because they had siege tank available. And knowing that Black, they just roamed around and they chose the bot lane since Saki was pushing the top lane the entire time, and having that pressure really limited them from even keeping them close. No, not even much pokes because 0-2 can come in and kill you anytime. With Genji, even more threat. So Miracle really, I think that was a very smart drafting by Black, just knowing what Miracle is trying to do and just outplay there. Perfectly done.
Really impressed by Reset's shuriken accuracy as well. Many of those shots were 3 shots. Even in the early game I was watching them, and he just really had good aim. And Reset, again, I said this earlier, but he's the perfect player to play Genji, right? He's the former amazing main assassin player of MVP Miracle. Actually, he's now playing against his former teammates, and he used to be like the best Zeratul in the world. Everyone said, watch out for Reset Zeratul, it's the best. He had Tist both like really highly ranked on the Zeratul, and then he's moved over to range, and now he gets to play ranged, but also still kind of have that melee feel, knowing the high skill cap moments where you can go in and then dive out just like he used to on the Zeratul. Genji functions very similarly in terms of diving over the wall with this swift strike, just like the Vorpal. So Reset there and Kyocha together were just wreaking havoc. Doesn't matter if there's a fort, if there's a wall, they're going over it, and you've got to get out.
I think they chose the right person. He's the one with leaving with the Reset, and even with Genji, you get that Reset. So it's a hybrid of all his talents together in one hero. So the perfect person to play Genji. I think Black has another weapon. Let's not go there yet, but if Black goes all the way to Europe, I think the foreign teams should be very scared of MVP Black Genji coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very much going to be terrifying going into the midseason brawl. If they get there, they have 2 more wins they need to take, though, and it will likely be their map pick as we go into our second Battleground because they won. The first ban will likely go to Miracle if they want it, and Black has in the past always taken us to Sky Temple in moments like this, so I feel like there's a very high chance that is where we'll be going for our second Battleground. But today, it's actually going